am going to tell you the story of how Jack went to seek his fortune. One day, there was a boy named Jack, and he just decided he'd go seek his fortune. So, he started walking out to go seek his fortune, and what do you know?
What do you know?
He met a cat.
Cat.
Said the cat, "What are you doing, Jack?" "I'm going to seek my fortune," said Jack. "Can I come too?" "Sure," said Jack. "The more the merrier." Well, so Jack and the cat kept walking, and there was a dog. "Woof, woof. What are you doing, Jack?" said the dog. "I am seeking my fortune. I'd love it if you'd come too, dog." "Sure, I'll come." So Jack and the dog kept walking, and they met a goat. Said the goat, "What are you doing, Jack?" "I'm going to seek my fortune." "Can I come too?" "Sure." So Jack, the cat, the dog, and the goat kept walking, and they met a bull. Said the bull, "Can I come too? I have heard you seeking your fortune." "Sure, it'd be great if you'd come," said Jack. So Jack, the cat, the dog, the goat, and the bull kept walking, and they met a rooster. Said the rooster, "What are you doing?" "I'm going to seek my fortune," said Jack. "Can I come too?" "Sure." So Jack, the cat, the dog, the goat, the bull, and the rooster all walked along a little further. But it was getting dark, so Jack figured they needed to find a place to spend the night. And right about then, they saw a house with the lights on. So Jack told the animals to stay back while he went up to see if anyone was in there. So he went up, looked in the window, and there were a group of robbers counting their money, as all robbers do. Well, Jack told the animals to come a little closer. Now, I'm going to need some help with this. I need 3 volunteers. You can stay sitting. Right here. So, all right. I need 2 more. All right. All right. And when I say, and Jack gave the signal, I want you all want you 3 to meow like a cat. And now I need 3 others to bark like a dog.
Raise your hands and wave, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Now I need 3 to bow like a goat. All right. And I need 3 to bellow like a bull.
Give us an example.
For us again.
There's someone over there?
I'll do it.
Okay. Yes, I need 1 more. All right. And I need 3 people to crow like a rooster. All right. All right. All right. And so Jack told the animals to get a little closer to the house, and everyone make as much noise as they can.
1, 2, 3. Those robbers were so scared they didn't know what was going on. They ran out of the house as fast as they could. And Jack and his friends, they went in the house and sat down. They were pretty tired, so the cat curled up on the rocking chair and fell asleep. The dog climbed under the table and went to sleep. The goat went upstairs and fell asleep. And the bull went down in the cellar and fell asleep. The rooster, now he flew up on the roof to sleep. Well, later that night, the robbers figured they'd better make sure their money was safe. So they sent 1 man back to the house to check on it. Well, he went in. There was a huge commotion. and he came running out again. You won't believe what happened in there. That place is haunted. I went in and sat down in the rocking chair, and a little old lady jabbed me in the back with knitting needles. Who was that?
Cat.
The cat. Hell, I sat down by the table, and a shoemaker pounded nails in my feet. Who was that? The dog. Well, I went upstairs to see if it was safe. There was an old man thrashing about, and he knocked me downstairs. Who was that?
The goat.
The goat. I went downstairs in the cellar, but there was a man with an axe, and he knocked me back upstairs. That was the bull.
Yeah.
But I would not have minded any of that had it not been for the little man on the roof calling, "Chuck him up to me! Chuck him up to me!" Well, after that, I would say Jack found his fortune, and he and his friends, they lived happily ever after. Hello, I'm GABID again, and this time I'm going to tell you the story of Hello House. Well, Brer Rabbit and his family, they decided to go on a picnic. It was a nice day, like today, so they packed up their picnic basket and they headed out. When they headed out, Brer Fox saw them leave, and he went in the house and figured he would have some rabbit stew when they got back. So he went in and hid under the table, pulled the tablecloth over him. Soon enough, Brer Rabbit got done with his picnic, and they headed back. But when he saw the house, he noticed something was wrong, but he couldn't tell what. He looked in the windows. He didn't see anything. Brer Fox was hiding too well. He climbed up on the roof and listened down the chimney. Do you think he heard anything?
No.
No. Brer Fox was being too quiet. Well, he knew what he'd do. He went out in front of the house, stood up on a stump, and called, "Hello, house!" Listen, that's odd. Why isn't my house answering? Well, maybe I'll try again, and you can help me with this. Hello, house! He listened. Still no answer. That's odd, he said. Why isn't my house answering? Brer Fox was thinking, maybe his house does answer. I better try answering him next time. He tried again. You can help. Hello, house! "Hello, Brer Rabbit," said Brer Fox in his most house-like voice. "That's way too low for my house," said Brer Rabbit. "Let me try again. Hello, house!" "Hello, Brer Rabbit," said Brer Fox. "Now that's too high for my house." Brer Rabbit, "I'll try again. You can help. Hello, house!" "Hello, Brer Rabbit. I recognize that voice," he said. "Get out of there, Brer Fox. Get." Brer Fox stomped out. He knew he'd been tricked. And Brer Rabbit went in the house and again said, "Hello, house." Do you think the house answered?
No.
No, houses don't talk, you know. Friends, though Coyote liked to play tricks on others, and he did not like to share. Well, one day, they were walking down the road when a cart went by, and the cart was heaping full of meat. They were all licking their lips. Oh yeah, they were dreaming of that meat. And a big piece of meat fell off the back of the cart. They all ran up as fast as they could to get to that meat. But of course, they all got there at the exact same time and couldn't decide who got the meat. And the
Coyote did not want to share the meat. He said, "That's not fair. What can we do? Let's race down a hill over there. See that hill? Let's race down. And whoever gets to the bottom first wins and gets the meat." The Coyote was sure he was the fastest. So they agreed, and Skunk waddled down the hill as fast as he could. Coyote ran down the hill as fast as he could. And Porcupine rolled up into a ball and rolled down. Now who do you think won?
Coyote.
Porcupine won.
Oh, I know.
"That's not fair," said Coyote. "Let's see. Let's put the meat up in this tree over here, and we'll all take a nap, and whoever has the most beautiful dream, they'll get the meat." He was sure he could have the most beautiful dream this time anyways. So they put the meat up in the tree, and Coyote fell asleep. And Porcupine fell asleep. Well, Skunk fell asleep. But Porcupine, he had other plans. So, shortly afterwards, Coyote woke up and asked Skunk, "Skunk, what did you dream?" "I dreamed I was in a patch of beautiful flowers, and I smelled beautiful, and there were butterflies flying around." "Okay, what did you dream, Porcupine?" "I dreamed I ate the meat." The meat was gone, and Porcupine was looking a little bit fatter. The end.
You want to do a third one?
Should I tell another one?
Sure.
You've got an audience.
You got an audience.
I'm going to tell you the story of Mr. Man's Garden. Well,
how to get in this garden. "Okay," said Sally, and Mr. Man went off. Shortly after Mr. Man left, Brer Rabbit walked up and said, "Hello, Sally. I'm Billy Malone." "I met Mr. Man down the road. He said he needed some help with those peas. He had way too many peas than he could find anything to do with. So he told me to come help him with the peas." "Okay," said Sally, and opened the gate. Brer Rabbit ran in, and he started eating, and eating, and eating, and eating, and eating, until finally he couldn't eat any more. So he left. Then about a week later, when he was going down the road, he overheard Mr. Man talking again. So what did he do? He went in the bushes and listened. He also heard Mr. Man saying he was going out of town, and Mr. Man told Sally, "Whatever you do, don't let any Brer Rabbits into the garden. Don't let anybody into those peas. Don't let anyone in those peas." So, "Okay," Sally said, and Mr. Man left. Shortly later, Brer Rabbit walked up and said, "I'm Billy Malone. I met Mr. Man down the road, and he told me he didn't need any help with those peas, but he could use some help with the lettuce." "Okay," said Sally. So Brer Rabbit went in and he ate. 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 And he ate until he couldn't bear to eat anymore. So he left. Then, a week or so later, he overheard Mr. Man talking to Sally again. So he hid in the bushes and heard Mr. Man saying, "Now, Sally, don't let anyone get in this garden. Especially don't let anyone in the peas or the lettuce." "Okay," said Sally. But before that, Mr. Man was getting a little suspicious of this Billy Malone. So he figured that if Billy Malone came back, he would probably go for the peanuts next. So he put a nice-sized trap in the peanuts to catch anyone that went in the peanuts. Well, shortly after Mr. Man left, Brer Rabbit walked up and said, "Hello, Sally. I'm Billy Malone. I overheard Mr. Man saying, well, actually, I met Mr. Man, and he told me I wasn't to have any of the lettuce or the peas, but I could help myself to the peanuts." So Sally said, "Okay." And Brer Rabbit went in and started eating on the peanuts. something fell on top of him. A big box fell down on top of him. He was stuck. Well, shortly later, Mr. Man came back and said, "Oh, finally got you, Brer Rabbit. I've been dreaming of rabbit stew for a long while. And some rabbit skin could also be very useful. Well, I'll go get my butcher knife." So he went off to get the butcher knife. And then Brer Fox hated Brer Rabbit, and Brer Rabbit hated Brer Fox also. Brer Fox came up and said, "I see you've been caught, Brer Rabbit. Finally you were caught. Yes, it's so horrible in here. He's feeding me steak and lamb and chicken, and I can hardly bear it. He's feeding me pork chops and pizza, and I'm about to burst. It's so horrible here. I can hardly bear it. Well, just maybe I could help," said Brer Fox. Drool was dribbling out, and he was licking his lips at the sound of that. "Maybe," said Brer Fox, "maybe I could trade places with you. It wouldn't be quite so bad being fed all that stuff." "Oh, it's horrible, it's horrible. You wouldn't want to do that," said Brer Rabbit. I think I'll do that for you. You're such a good friend, I'll do that." "Okay," said Brer Rabbit, "I suppose." And so Brer Fox lifted the box up. Brer Rabbit ran out. Brer Fox climbed in. And we never know what happened to Brer Fox after that. The end. Over his head. He also told him to cover over his head so the sparks from the fire might burn his face. So, then in the morning, older sister would ask him to hold out his arm, and he would hold out his arm, and she'd feel it and say, "Still not fat enough, still too thin." He thought this was a little odd, but he didn't really do much about it. A few months later, when he was out checking on his traps, he found a little white rabbit caught by one leg. He said, "Let me go and I'll tell you something very important." "Okay," he said, and he let the rabbit go. The person that said his older sister is not really related to him. He told him your grandfather when you were very young. "Watch her tonight when she eats, and you'll see what she really is." So, that night, after the boy had eaten his food and pulled the covers over his head, he took his knife and poked a tiny hole in the blanket, just long enough that he could watch what older sister did. Well, then, when he supposedly had gone to sleep, older sister picked up a pile of food, just ate it whole. Skin, bones, feathers, everything. And he saw that older sister was not really a human. She was a Kiwok breed, a monster that loves eating humans. Well, then, that morning he decided he'd run away. But he wanted to know whether to take the path toward his traps or the path toward the sunrise. And just then a little white rabbit popped out and said, "Take the path toward the sunrise. That's where your grandfather lives." So he ran down that path, and soon, oh! He knew Kiwok was chasing him. When he hadn't taken the path toward the sun, toward his traps, she saw the hole in his blanket and realized he was running away. Well, he knew he had to find a place to hide because he couldn't run as fast as a Kiwok would. So, just then he saw this large cave with a big old porcupine sitting in it. Can you believe that? A big old porcupine sitting in a cave. "My elder porcupine," he said, "your quills are very clean and beautiful." "Oh, it's nice to meet a young one so Kiwakui ran up to the cave and said, "Where is the one I am going to eat?" "How do you like my clothes?" said Porcupine. "They are dirty and ugly." "I see," said Porcupine. "The one you want to eat is in that cave behind me. You must pass me first to get to him." So Kiwakui lunged at Porcupine and got speared with Porcupine's long, sharp quills. Kiwakui fell on the ground dead. But Porcupine told Little Weasel, keep running. Kiwakui will soon come back to life. She's dead, but she will soon come back to life." So the boy kept on running toward the sunrise. And soon, he knew Kiwakui was after him again. And then he came to this wide river with a big, tall heron standing on the side of it. He said to Heron, "Heron, your legs are long and beautiful." "Oh, it's nice to meet someone so respectful of their elders," said Heron. "Anything I can do to help?" "Kiwakui is after me. Can you help me get across this river?" said Little Weasel. "Okay," said Heron, and crawled out his leg. Little Weasel ran across Heron's leg and kept on going. Soon, Kiwakui ran up to the river and said, "What did Kiwakui say?"
Where's the one?
Well, Heron said, "How do you like my legs?" "They are dirty and ugly," said Kiwakui. "I see," said Heron. "The one you want to eat is across that river. You must use my leg as a bridge to get across." Heron called out the leg. Kiwakui started to run across and Heron quickly pulled the leg back. Kiwakui fell in the river and drowned. Keep running, said Heron. Kiwakui will soon come back to life." So Little Weasel kept on running and soon came to this large open field with a big wigwam in the middle. Do you know what a wigwam is? It's an Indian house, basically. And on the porch of that wigwam was sitting an old man with a little dog about the size of your hand. "Grandson," said the old man. And the little weasel knew that was his grandfather. "It's nice to see you," said Grandfather. But before he could say anything more, Kiwakui ran into the meadow. And what did Kiwakui say? "Where's the one I am going to eat?" "The one you want to eat is over here next to me," said Grandfather. "First, you must pass me and my little dog." "Okay, I'll just eat you and your little dog too," said Grandfather.
Said Kiwakui.
Or said Kiwakui. "Little dog," said Grandfather, "go meet this Kiwakui that wants to eat us." So that the little dog jumped down and shook himself 4 times. Each time he grew larger and larger and larger and larger until the dog was 4 times as big as the biggest bear. It then ran up, whipped Kiwakui up and ate him. After that, Kiwakui did not come back to life.
Went up, he passed this long, gnarled tree that was sticking up, and you hear the wind whispering through it and moaning through it. And then the tree meowed at him. He thought this was a bit odd, just kept going. He soon got inside the mansion and started a nice fire. There was plenty of wood there. And he had a nice fire going pretty quickly. The only place he could sit, though, was this old chair that looked like it was about to fall apart. But it held his weight for a little while anyway, so he sat there. Not long after, something crept up behind John and went past him. It was a big black cat. It walked in front of him and sat right down in the fire. And picked up a glowing red hot coal, started licking it like it was milk. John was a bit scared now. He was starting to shake. But he tried not to pay that cat any attention.
Not too long after, another cat walked up next to him. How big do you think this cat was? It was the size of a big dog. It sat down in the fire with that other cat, picked up a glowing hot coal, like it was a powder puff, and started powdering its cheeks. Then it powdered its nose. Then both cats got up out of the fire, patted the smoke out of their fur, and looked at John. The dog-sized cat said,
Well, what shall we do with him? We better wait till Martin comes,
said the little cat. John was really scared now. He started to shake. He was praying a little, and it shook so much, the bottom of the chair fell down into the chair. And he couldn't get up without making a huge noise. So he just stayed there as quiet as he could be. And he said his prayers over and over without moving his lips. A little while later, another cat went up around John. This cat, guess how big it was? It was as big as a bear. And it was 12 times blacker than the last. Then went and sat down in that fire, picked up a glowing red hot coal, started rubbing its green slanted eyeballs.
Hey.
Then it got up out of that fire, patted the smoke out of its fur, stood right in front of John and looked at him. And said to the other cats,
Well, what shall we do with him?
another two cats said together,
We better wait till Martin
comes. John was extremely terrified now. He decided he wasn't going to stay around there, so he jumped up out of the chair, made a huge noise, ran out of the house, but his parts of the chair still stuck to him, and he left. He didn't come anywhere near that house again. The end.
He always worked late to try and raise enough money to support his family, but especially so tonight. When he finally got home, it was dark. When he got in the house, his daughter Mary noticed he didn't have the walking stick he always took with him. Oh, Mary, I took this shortcut through the graveyard. I must have left it there when I took a rest. I'll go get it! Before anyone could stop her, she was out the door. The moon was almost full, kind of like it is tonight, so she had no problem finding the graveyard. She had no problem finding the walking stick. It was leaning up against the largest tombstone. She went over and grabbed that walking stick, but as she lifted it, something grabbed her. It pulled her down and jumped on her back, grabbed her hair, grabbed her nose, and dug its heels into her sides. Okay, little girl, take me to town. I'm hungry. I am no little girl. My name is Mary Culhane. Okay then, Mary, take me to town. Now, she was a very obedient girl, so she did. She started on into town, walking on her hands and knees with that thing on her back. As they approached town, looked around, pointed a bony finger, take me to that house. So she did. She went over, up the porch, and up the steps. 1, 2... No! Not that house! There's old people there. Their blood runs too slowly. Around, take me to that house. Well, so she did. Back down the porch, over, and up the porch of the next house. Up 1 step, 2... No! Not that house! There's cat hair on the doorstep! Picky, picky, picky. Around, take me to that house. Now, Mary knew that house, and she knew the 3 boys that lived in it. Well, she kind of liked them too. But she didn't disobey orders either. So she headed toward that house, up the porch, and up the steps. 1, 2, 3. And in the door. Okay, now let's make oatmeal. Well, she went in the kitchen. She knew how to make oatmeal. She'd done it many times before, but never with something on her back. But before long, she had a nice hot pan of oatmeal, and the thing directed her upstairs to the boys' bedroom. She went up there, and in the room, and there they all three were, sprawled out, with their arms hanging off the beds, and everything, and that thing on her back. It went over to the first boy, and it drew out a pin, and pricked the end of his finger, and held that pan of oatmeal. 1 drop fell in the pan, and the color drained from the boy's face. 2 drops, and he went cold. 3 drops, he was dead. Well, it went over to the next boy, and it pricked his finger. 1 drop, and the color drained from his face. 2 drops, he went cold. 3 drops, he was dead. Went over to the third boy, pricked his finger. 1 drop, what happened? The color drained from his face. 2 drops, he grew cold. And with that 3rd drop, he was dead. All right, now let's eat. He went back downstairs, got 2 bowls, and the thing divvied that oatmeal, that bloody oatmeal, into 2 bowls. Pushed one over to Mary. Eat. She had dinner. She wasn't hungry. But it was watching her. She took a spoon and brought it to her lips. That thing sucked down all of its oatmeal. And while she was doing that, she took her spoon and spooned it into her scarf. Did I mention it was a cold day? As fast as she could. When that thing saw her bowl was empty, you have eaten the bloody oatmeal. Now you will become one of us. And besides, you know what? That oatmeal is the only thing that would have brought those boys back to life. But you have eaten it. Well now, we better be getting back to the graveyard. I don't want the sun to come up, and you don't either. They jumped back on her back, and they headed back. Now she walked a little bit slower this time than before. On the way, they passed this pile of rocks. She passed it many times before, and never thought much of it. But it pointed to see that pile of rocks. That's where we keep our treasure. Now that you're one of us, you can use it too. And they kept going. Almost to the graveyard when off in the distance, cock-a-doodle-doo! Cock-a-doodle-doo! Hurry up, Mary! It's almost dawn! Do you think she hurried up? No. Maybe a little bit slower than before. But she eventually got to that big tombstone with the walking stick still laying next to it. And that thing jumped off her back and started oozing into the ground. But you know what? Just then the sun popped up over the horizon and a single ray of light landed on its forehead. And Mary! And it turned into a pile of ashes. She picked up that walking stick and headed back into town. By then, the police were already gathered around the boy's house, and quite a large crowd was gathered too. They're dead! They just died in the middle of the night! Can you believe that? What happened? May I just have a few minutes with them in private? And they agreed. So she went up to the boy's bedroom, got a spoon along the way, went over to that first boy and took a spoonful of oatmeal out and fed it to him. With that, his body grew warm again. He took a second spoonful, and the color came back into his face. Took a third spoonful. He was asleep. He went over to that next boy. One spoonful, and he grew warm again. 2 spoonfuls, what happened?
Color.
The color came back into his face. That third spoonful, he was asleep. Went over to the last boy. 1 spoonful, grew warm again. 2 spoonfuls, the color came back into his face. 3 spoonfuls, he was asleep. She turned around and headed back home, back past that pile of rocks, back past the graveyard, but not through it, and back to her house. And you know, after that, her family, they always seemed to have just enough money. And Mr. Culhane, he never had to work late again.
Brock, he's 17 years old. He is homeschooled, but he is also doing dual credit at a community college. And he's been in the youth teller since he was 10 years old. And a fun fact about him is that he has a donkey, a dog, and a cat at home. And I'll let him tell you guys what story he's going to be telling today.
Hello? I'm going to tell you the story of the boy who wanted the willies. This story is from Aaron Shepard's website. Once there was a boy, and he was walking home with his older sister. The boy's name was Hans, by the way. So they were walking home, and it was getting dark out. And the wind was going through the trees. Ooh! His older sister said, "Ooh, this gives me the willies." "What are the willies?" asked Hans. "Do I have to tell you everything?" she said. "The willies are when you're so scared you start shivering and shaking." "Oh, I've never felt that," said Hans. "I would like to feel that." Well, the next day, Hans set out to go find the willies. He walked and he walked. He met several people. They gave him different suggestions. One of them told him to sit in a graveyard late at night during a dark and stormy night, but all he got out of that was some wet clothes. Well, he kept going, and by, he got to the palace. And he went up to the king and said, "Your Majesty, can you give me the willies?" "I'm the king! I can do anything!" And he took his staff and said, "I command you to have the willies." "Your Majesty, I still don't have the willies." "Oh, well, you know, there's an old haunted house over there, or supposedly haunted. It's a castle, and if you spend the night there, you're sure to get the willies. Just one thing, nobody who's ever gone in there has come out. But if you can spend the night, it says you'll break the spell and get the castle treasure." "Sounds fair enough to me," said Hans. So he headed out to the castle. He got there around midnight, and as he approached, there was this big moat around the castle. It had a huge drawbridge. And the drawbridge, all on its own, came down. "What a nice place," said Hans. And he went in. There was a big room with a fireplace. He sat down, and the fire started all on its own. "Well, how kind," said Hans. Just then, the clock struck 1 o'clock, and you can help me. Bong! 2 big men came into the room with Hans. One of them was all furry, had very long hair and fur. Another had long, pointy teeth. They had a deck of cards, and they sat down and asked if Hans wanted to play cards. "Sure," said Hans, "I'd love to." So they explained the rules, and Finally, they explained if the one with the long pointy teeth won, he would drink Hans's blood. And if the one with the scraggly fur won, he would rip Hans to shreds and eat him. And if Hans won, well, they wouldn't bother. Sounds fair enough to me, said Hans. So they started playing and playing, and after a while, the man with the long pointy teeth won. I shall drink your blood, he said. And he lunged at Hans, but Hans reached up and snapped those teeth off. Ooh! The man ran out of there, and his furry friend lunged at Hans. Hans stepped out of the way, and the man went out the window. Thud. Well, Hans sat back down. I like a good game of cards, but when am I going to get the willies? Just then the clock struck 2. Bong, bong. A line of skeletons marched in. They formed a big circle and reached a hand out to Hans. Sure, I'd love to dance, said Hans. So they got in a circle and started dancing. One tapped its skull, knock, knock. One snapped its fingers, snap, snap. One drummed its ribcage, clickety clack. They started doing this. Knock, knock, snap, snap, clickety clack, knock, knock, snap, snap, clickety clack. Faster and faster and faster. Slow down, said Hans. What do you think they did? They just went faster. Knock, knock, snap, snap, clickety clack, knock, knock, snap, snap, clickety clack. Slow down. Think they slowed down? No. Knock, knock, snap, snap, clickety clack, knock, knock, snap, snap, clickety clack. Slow down, said Hans, and he gave a jerk. Pop, off came the 2 arms. Well, the dancing stopped, and the music stopped, and now the skeletons all ran at Hans. He picked up a chair, swung it back and forth, and next thing he knew, there was just a pile of bones there. He tossed the bones out the window and sat back down. Well, I like a good dance, but when am I going to get the willies? Just then, the clock struck 3. Bong, bong, bong. And Hans heard a sound from the fireplace. Look out below! And this huge torso fell down the chimney, swerved to miss the fire, and landed in front of the fireplace. Look out below! 2 huge arms did the same thing. Look out below! 2 huge legs fell down the chimney and landed by the body. Look out below! 1 gargantuan head fell down the chimney, swerved, and landed by the body. Hans looked at this. I get it. It's a puzzle. He stuck the arms on the body, stuck the legs on the body, and stuck the head on the body. The giant got up and said, "You've got my legs on backwards." Oh, whoops, said Hans, and he switched the legs around. "You're the first one who's ever successfully put me together. The others all died of fright long before this. Well, now I shall show you the castle treasure. It's through the room after you." "No, after you," said Hans. So the giant led Hans into the room, into another room, a courtyard actually, and handed Hans a shovel. "Dig there," said the giant. What did Hans say? "You dig there." So the giant dug and dug and dug, and unearthed 3 huge treasure boxes. "Take those in another room," said the giant. "No, you take them in another room." So the giant picked up the treasure chests and brought them back into the fireplace room. "One for the king," said the giant, "one's for the poor, and one's for you." Well, after that, when the king heard that Hans had spent the night and broken the spell and gotten the castle treasure, the king decided to let Hans stay in the palace. And when Hans grew older, he married the king's daughter, and they had 3 boys, triplets actually, and Hans named each one of them Willie. So now he finally had the willies.
Any little thing and they'd start fighting. Usually the wars just lasted maybe a day at most, and then they'd come home with a bunch of stuff from the war. So they loved fighting. Maybe they did a little bit of hunting and other stuff, but they mostly just fought. Well, one day some twins were born, and they knew twins were very good luck. And besides that, by the time the twins were 5 years old, they were wiser than anyone else in the village. Can you believe that? Mm-hmm. Well, they were. And not that long after, one of the Beldy trappers was out checking his traps, and he found that one of them had been set off, but there was nothing in it. And he could tell by looking that it must have been someone from the Zula tribe that had stolen a weasel from them. They had stolen a weasel. He ran back to the chief of the Beldy village and told him, Chief was outraged. How could they dare steal a weasel? How dare they steal a weasel? Get ready for war. Let's go fight them. Not again. Must you fight over just a little measly old weasel? Asked the chief's wife. Yes. This is our honor. We must go fight. Well, the chief's wife went off to talk to the twins to see if they could maybe keep the men from going out and fighting again over just a weasel. And the twins said, well, we'll see what we can do. Then the Beldy hunters and warriors came to the twins to ask for advice on how they should fight this war. And by the way, the twins' names are Chubak and Ododo. And Chubak said, well, if they'd stolen something more important, maybe a buffalo or something else, or a mink or something with a bit more value, that would be different. But if they stole just a weasel, they must have stolen that just to shame us. We are shamed. We have no honor. If we have no honor, we're dead. Yes, said Odogo. They killed us, now we must go kill all their men back. And even the twins got ready for war. Did I mention that Chubak also mentioned that it was such an evil land where the Zakzulis lived? It was so evil, everything was evil. The food was evil and the water was evil. So they must not eat or drink anything in the Zakzuli land. So they packed up a bunch of food and water and backpacks and sacks and trudged out to war. It was a work carrying all that weight. And when they were partway to the Zakzuli village, they saw some Zakzuli women out picking some berries. And the twins said to the women, hey, we've come to kill all the men in this village. And the women immediately ran back to tell everybody. What'd you say that for? Asked the chief. Well, we're men. We've come to fight. Nothing can stop us. So, sure enough, when they got to the Zakzuli village, everyone was hiding in their houses. And they had a rule also that they could not enter any village houses or hurt any women. So the men just hid in the grass and waited, because the Zakzuli men had to come out sometime. So they hid, and the next day, the women came out with big, long sticks, and they beat every Zakzuli man, every building man. They said the twins, that's the rule, we are not to hurt any women. And that continued on. And the next day, the women came out with big, long sticks and beat everybody they could find. This continued on for several days. Then one day, the Beldy's food ran out. How can we fight without food? Asked the chief. Remember your vow, we'll not eat anything in this land. And besides, honor's at stake. Food's not a problem. We've almost won anyways. Well, maybe a day or two later, the water ran out. How can we fight without water? We have no food, we have no water, we don't have much energy left. How can we fight? Asked the chief. We've almost won this war. And remember, you're not to drink anything from this land. Well, so they waited a little bit longer. And finally, the Beldy's patience ran out. How can we fight? We have no patience. We can't even lift our spears, much less pull a bow back. How can we fight? Remember, we're men. Our honor's at stake. How can we complain of little things like this? Well, so they waited a little bit longer. And the next day, the Zula chief came out to ask if they could peacefully settle this. And Odogo said, how can peace restore honor? This is our honor we're fighting over. There's only one thing that will restore our honor. And that is a very great gift. You must give us a very, very great gift. Yes, something that's never been given before, said Shiva. And what is that? asked the Zula chief. You must give us the skin of a weasel. Skin of a weasel? Yes, you must give us a weasel skin, said the twins. Okay, and the Zula chief ran off, got a weasel skin, and brought it back. So, Beldy men then headed home. And the chief asked, how is a weasel skin such a great gift? I mean, you mean we went home over just a little weasel skin? We did all that work for just a weasel? Remember? We went to war because they stole one of our weasels, said the twins. And when the Beldys got home, they told all their wives, this was such a horrible war. This was the worst war we've ever fought. We never want to go to war again. And they never did.
And I'm going to tell you the story of the little lame donkey. Once, there was a donkey. He worked with a circus, and every day, whenever the circus would stop, he would haul a heavy cart around with children in it, and he would take them for rides around, and the children loved it. But it was hard work for him. And then one day, he got a lame leg, and he couldn't pull the cart anymore. So, the circus owners, they just left him behind in the field. They couldn't take him around anymore. But the donkey didn't mind. The farmers around would always throw him food and make sure he had plenty of water. And he didn't have to carry the hard, heavy cart anymore. But he was very lonely, especially on Christmas Eve. For all donkeys know about Christmas. And just then, while he was standing in the field, the bell struck midnight. Dong! It was Christmas. And in utter loneliness, he let out a bray. Just then he heard what sounded like bells and some crunching in the snow, footsteps. He looked over, and there was this big round man in a red suit and a white hat. Who are you? asked the donkey. He thought he knew the answer. What do you think the answer is?
Santa Claus.
Well, hello there, my old friend, said the man. I go by many names. Some call me Kris Kringle, some call me St. Nicholas, some call me Santa Claus. There's many names for me. I just thought I'd stop by. I heard you making some noise and you sounded lonely. Don't you have reindeer? asked the donkey. Yeah, well, I let them go on. I've just got a few stops to make in the town down there, the apple yards and a few others. So I let the reindeer go on home, and I figured I'd walk there. That's 12 miles away, said the donkey. Well, if I just keep going, I'll get there in good time. I can help you carry that huge sack, said the donkey, for the man had a big sack that was bulging with what looked like gifts. But what about your lame leg? asked Santa Claus. I can do it, said the donkey. So Santa Claus picked up the sack and set it on the donkey's back. And off they started walking. They walked and they walked and they talked and they talked, and before you knew it, there they were in town. At every door, the man would open the sack, take a package out and set it on the doorstep or the windowsill. They kept doing this all through town until they got to the last house. Here's the apple yards, said the man, Santa Claus, and he just took out the entire sack and set it there, because that was all that was left in it. Then he said, well, it's starting to get light out, I'd better go. he was not there anymore. He just vanished. The donkey couldn't find him. Just then the door to the house opened, and out ran a bunch of children. Look what we got here! Look what Santa brought us for Christmas, they called. And they didn't even pay any attention to the bag of gifts. All they were looking at was the donkey. And when they got up there, one of them noticed he had some tinsel around his neck, and a little note on there saying, "To the apple yards. Take care of my old friend, and he has a lame leg, but take care of him and he'll do well. Merry Christmas." And after that, they took good care of him. Mr. Appleyard was actually a vet. He mended the donkey's leg, and by that spring, the donkey could take the children for rides around their farm. And after that, he was never lonely again. Yeah. Say that. Well, this story is called One Grain of Rice. Once in India, there was a Raja. Do you know what a Raja is? A Raja is like a king. Well, he thought he was a wise and good and fair Raja, as a Raja should be. One year, he decided to decree that everybody in this place, everybody in this kingdom would have to give them almost all of their rice. They would store it up in a storehouse, and then when droughts came and famines came, we could pass it out, and they wouldn't go hungry. So every year, for several years, he would take almost all of their rice and leave them just enough to live on. Well, then, several years later, it didn't rain, and a drought came, and they didn't grow any rice. They got hungry. And people came to him and asked if they could have some of the rice, but he thought, if I give out this rice, I don't know how long this famine is going to last, and I can't go hungry. A Raja's got to eat. So he wouldn't give him the rice. Well, a little while later, he decided to have a party. A Raja's got to celebrate sometimes. So he ordered some elephants to bring him a bag of rice to cook. And as one of the elephants was passing through a village, a little girl named Ronnie saw one of the sacks on the elephant had a little hole in it. And there was some rice dripping out of the hole. So she went up with her skirt and walked alongside the elephant, catching the rice. And when she got to the palace, a guard said, "Halt! Thief! I'm not a thief. I'm merely catching this rice to give back to the Raja. It's his." When the Raja heard about this, he thought, that's a good deed. I must reward her, as Raja should. So he called her to him and said, "What do you want as a reward?" "I don't need anything, but if you want, you can give me 1 grain of rice," she said. 1 grain of rice? Is that all you want? Surely you must have more. There's gold, there's jewels, there's everything. Okay, if you insist, give me 2 grains of rice tomorrow. And the next day, give me 4 grains of rice. And just continue doubling it every day for 30 days. Is that all you want? She said, that's all. This shouldn't amount to much, right?
Right.
So that day, gave her 1 grain of rice. And the next day, how many did she get? 2 grains of rice. And on the 3rd day, 4 grains of rice. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And on the 8th day, she got 128 grains of rice. That was enough for a small handful. And on the next day, she got enough for 2 handfuls. And on the 12th day, she got 2,048 grains of rice. This is enough for a little bowl, which she handed her. And on the next day, she handed her 2 bowls. By the 16th day, a deer had to bring her a big basket of rice, sent on a royal deer. The next day, 2 royal deers came, each with a big basket of rice on them. And by the time they got to the 22nd day, how much rice do you think she was getting? Enough that an elephant had to bring it to her. A big royal elephant had come up and delivered 2 huge sacks of rice. The Raja was thinking, This is really adding up to more than I thought. But surely it can't add up to a whole lot more. Right?
Right.
Right.
The next day, 2 elephants delivered her rice. And by the 28th day, he had bring her so much rice, he had emptied an entire royal storehouse. And on the 29th day, how much? 2 royal storehouses of rice. And on the 30th and final day, 256 elephants brought up the contents of 4 royal storehouses. This was all the rice Roger had. He had no more rice to give her, and totally given her over 1 billion grains of rice. And he came to her and said, now that you have all my rice, what are you going to do with it? Well, she said, I'm going to pass out to all the hungry people in the nation. And if you promise never to take more than you need, I'll give you a basket too. After that, the Roger really was a fair and kind leader, as Roger too. Yeah.
Well, oh well, there we go. Piece of string with a knot in the middle. Let's see if we can help with that, though. So I'll wind this string up here. And then I'll go in my pocket and get some magic foo-foo powder. Foo-foo powder is very useful. Sprinkle it on. Now if I can have everybody clap 3 times, that activates the foo-foo powder. Okay, let's see if that helps. I've got some other things.
Do you need somebody to hold the microphone, David?
I actually probably could use 2 hands for this. So, the first rule is do not wear the string around your neck. And definitely don't put it on twice. Because you know what could happen? Yeah, you could trip, it could get caught on something, and you could strangle yourself. Now, once there was a king, and this king really liked diamonds. So, once he found one diamond.
Cute. Oh, nice.
And then he found 2 diamonds. And then he found another diamond. And of course he still wanted more.
As all kings do.
So he got himself 4 diamonds.
Wow.
But that still didn't satisfy him. So he was looking and looking and looking a lot, and finally found well, he was still looking.
He got lost. He thought he found them. They were just quartz.
He had
To go
quite a bit.
over the river and through the woods.
his grandmother's house.
Yeah, his grandma bought him all his diamonds.
Pickaxes. And District found him.
And he found 5 diamonds.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Wow.
He still wasn't satisfied.
He had to go to his grandpa's house.
And he found 6 diamonds.
Wow.
Well, and then he was sitting out looking at his diamonds, and you know, a mosquito was flying all around him, and he was very annoyed. So what do you think he would do with the mosquito? Swat it. Of course, he swatted it. And what do you think became of the mosquito? It was gone. And there we go. Skinny and could not win any fight. Well, his name was just Thief, but he was very strong and could win pretty much any fight. He was very jealous of Master Thief's title. He wanted to be called Master Thief. Well, one day they were off robbing houses in a nearby town, and Thief saw Master Thief coming back from robbing a rich man's house with his pocket bulging full of all sorts of valuables. Gold and silver and money and everything. Then he had an idea. If I can rob Master Thief, he thought, then I will be called Master Thief. So he said to Master Thief, "Hey Master Thief, it's a long way home and it's getting pretty dark. You want to spend a share hotel room tonight?" "Sure," said Master Thief. So they did, and as soon as Master Thief had fallen asleep, he snuck out of his bed, snuck over to Master Thief's bed, carefully looked at Master Thief's pockets, but there was no money there. He looked under Master Thief's sheets, still no money. He was very frustrated, but he went back to bed. The next day they agreed to share a hotel room again, and sure enough, that night Master Thief came back with his pockets bulging with even more valuables. Thief's mouth started watering when he saw that. As soon as Master Thief had gone to sleep, he snuck out, went over to Master Thief's pockets, under the blankets. He looked under Master Thief's bed. Still no money. He looked under the boards, floorboards. He looked in the cracks in the walls. Still no money. Anywhere else you could think of he looked? He went outside and dug around in all the flower pots. He looked under the bushes. Anywhere else?
He looked in the basement.
Yeah, he went down in the basement in the hotel, dug through everything in the hotel basement. Can you think of any other places?
Yeah, obviously.
The what?
Obviously.
He didn't have a key to the safe, but he shook it and there wasn't any money in there. He was
In the freezer.
He looked in the freezers and there were, and there still wasn't any there.
Under the mattress, did you say
Yes,
that?
he looked under Master Thief's mattress. Finally, he could not find any money. Finally went back to bed, very frustrated. The next day, he just had to ask Master Thief, "Where do you keep your money?" That's not easy. And I knew you would try and rob me. So I hid it in the one place you would not look. I hid it under your bed, Thief. The thief bowed to the master. The end. They were aiming, about ready to shoot, when something went wrong. The gun misfired and blew the prince's thumb off. Blew his thumb clean off. What do you think the friend said? Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. How can you say that's good?
to the prince, his tail blew my thumb off. He was so mad he threw the friend in jail, in a dungeon actually. But a few years went by, and the prince decided to go hunting again. The friend was still in the dungeon. Well, the prince was out hunting, and he saw this beautiful deer. He was tracking it, and he got a little distracted and strayed too far away. Strayed into a land that was actually occupied by cannibals. They got him, took him, and they set up this big fire with a pot on it. And they were about to boil him alive when they noticed his thumb was missing. Now, they were a very superstitious group, and they believed if you were missing anything, that was a curse, and they did not want to eat him. So they immediately put him down and told him to get away as fast as he could. He ran back, he went back to the palace, and immediately let his friend out of the dungeon. What do you think the friend said? Oh, that's good. How did you say that's good? I locked you in a dungeon. Well, see, if I had been with you, I probably would have been eaten by those cannibals, because I didn't have anything missing. So that's the story of how something that seems bad can actually turn out good. I give you this to take with you. Nothing remains as it was. If you know this, you can begin again with pure joy in the upbringing. Judith Minty, Letters to My Daughters.
It didn't take people long to recognize his ability to lead. When he was a very young man and a pastor at Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama, he led the Montgomery Transit System. After Miss Rosa Parks had to go to jail for not giving up her seat on the bus to a white passenger.
And indeed, there was power in his words as well as in his voice, and he was able, as no other black leader before him, to gather the forces of both blacks and whites and unite them for freedom's sake. And on August 28, 1963, when he gave his I Have a Dream speech, he said,
I have a dream that my 4 little children will live in a world where they are not judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
He organized the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which came to be known as the SCLC across the country. They held sit-ins and peaceful marches.
He eventually won the Nobel Peace Prize, and dreamed that one day both blacks and whites would live together in peace and harmony. Hey, it's just like the birds, remember?
Birds? What birds? Huh?
Yeah, you know how, just a long time ago, the birds, whenever they met each other, they would argue and say,
I'm a better bird. I'm a better bird. I'm the best bird of all. I'm the best bird.
But one day, when Crow came across Sparrow, who was tired after a long day of gathering nuts and berries and bird food, simply said to Crow,
Crow, you're a better bird than I.
And then Sparrow said,
No, you're actually better than me.
So when they came across, so at the end of the day, Crow asked Sparrow,
Sparrow, you're a good friend. Why don't we hang out in my tree?
Sure, that sounds good. So a couple years later, the birds decided to test Crow and Sparrow's friendship. So then they went to Sparrow and they asked,
Sparrow, why in the world do you always hang with that mean old Crow?
And then Sparrow said, How can you call him mean? He's my friend. So then the birds went to Crow and they asked,
Crow, why in the world do you hang with that mean old Sparrow all the time? Because he's a better bird than I.
So then the birds said amongst themselves, Why can't we be like Sparrow and Crow? Why can't we live together in peace and harmony? And that's how friendship began among birds.
That kind of sounds like Martin Luther King's dream for us. He had a dream. He had a dream.
He had a dream. He had a dream.
He had a dream.
We are his dream.
And that rich man had servants all around him. He had a horse pulling his cart. The stone I thought, that looks nice. This is terrible, having to go up and cut stone every day. That witch man looks so much more better and powerful. I wish I were a witch man, and the magic spirit of the mountain heard it and granted his wish. And it turned that stonecutter into a witch man.
Nice.
He loved being a rich man. He could do whatever he wanted. He could play with animals. He could ask for servants. He could do everything. But one day it was really hot outside. It was burning up. And, he thought he was the greatest. He thought he was the best. But the sun was better than him. The sun was the greatest. He wished to be the sun. And the magic spirit of the mountain heard him and did it.
And then he was the sun. And he loved being the sun. He was the strongest. He was the greatest. No one was better than him. He got to go and make the days hot if he wanted, or if he wanted them cold, he could make them cold. But one day, he decided he wanted the day to be hot. But a cloud came and it covered him, and he couldn't do it. Well, he decided that he must not be the strongest. The cloud must be the strongest. So he said, I wish I were the cloud. And the magical spirit came and went. And he was the cloud.
When he was being the clouds, he was a very happy cloud. Well, he could come in, when it was sunny and it was hot, he could come and rain on people. He could make it nice and cloudy, and the sun wouldn't shine on anybody. Now, people couldn't go to the beach, they couldn't play in the pool, they couldn't do all that fun stuff that you guys get to do now. Well, one day he was about to make it cloudy, and there's going to be no sun this day, and he had great plans, but he got pushed out of the way. What was pushing him? He thought he was the greatest. He was so powerful, but something was pushing him. Well, he thought for a moment, then he figured it out. It was the wind. Well, he said, I really wish I was the wind. And a magical spirit came in and went. Now the clouds has become the wind. The wind liked to blow everything around. Liked to blow the leaves on the trees off, and liked to blow the ribbons around. He liked to blow people's hats off. He liked to blow everything. One day when he tried to blow away a mountain, it didn't work. He tried once. It wouldn't work. He tried again. Nope. He tried once more. It didn't work. He thought he was the greatest, the most powerful, the best. But he wasn't. It was the mountain that was greater. So he wished he was the mountain. And the magical spirit came and went, and it turned the wind into the mountain.
He loved being the mountain. He was the greatest. He was the best. He was strong. Nothing could move him. And he just loved it. But one day, something was chipping at his back. Can you guess what was chipping at his back? Can you guess? What do you think? It was the stone cutter. The stone cutter was chipping at his back and causing him pain. So he decided that the stone cutter must be the greatest. So he asked for one more wish. He said, I wish I was the stone cutter. And the magical spirit came and went, and it turned him into a stone cutter. And he realized that day that he was the best just the way he was. He is.
Once in a village, there lived an old man. He made overcoats for the whole entire village. Everyone loved his overcoats. But he never had enough money to buy the material to make an overcoat for himself. He wanted an overcoat so bad. So he saved and he saved every last penny he could until he had enough money to buy the material. And once he bought the material, he cut the material very carefully. He did not want to mess up. And then he sewed it together. And he tried it on. It fit perfectly. He loved that overcoat. He wore it even if it was a little bit cold outside. He wore it and he wore it until it was all wore out.
At least he thought it was all worn out, but when he looked very closely, he saw that there was just enough material to make a jacket. So he cut it out very carefully, and he made a jacket. He could wear this jacket even more now. He wore it and wore it until it was all wore out.
At least he thought it was all worn out. But when he looked, there was a piece that was just enough material left to make a vest. So he cut the material out, sewed it together, and tried it on. It fit perfectly. He wore it winter, summer, spring, fall, whenever he could. He even wore it to bed a few times. He wore it so much that it wore out.
At least he thought it was all worn out. But when he looked closely, there were some patches here and there. And when he looked through his book of sewing recipes, he found that there was just enough material to make a cap. So he cut out the material and he sewed it together, and he found out that it made a perfect cap. It fit him perfectly. He paraded it up and down the streets, and whenever someone said, "Hey, that's a nice hat you have there," he said, "Thanks, I made it myself." He sometimes thought if he hooked that hat up to a generator, it could power a small city. He wore that hat until it was all worn out.
At least he thought it was all worn out, until he looked closely at it and he saw that there was just enough material to make a button. Now he put that button on his favorite shirt. He took it everywhere. He wore it all the time until that button wore out. Well, he thought it was all worn out until he looked closely at what was left of that button, and he saw that there was enough to make a story. And he told that story everywhere he went, because he knew that a story would never wear out.
But the other part, I think those people have to register. Yeah.
Rule 3, don't violate Rule 1 or 2.
But there's
and Rule 4, don't poo.